up, guys? I hope you're having a fantastic week. Welcome back to the podcast. This week, I'm going to do something that I've never done, ever. I'm actually releasing a live Q&A session that I just had with the Sync Edge members a few weeks ago, okay? Sync Edge is my music library recommendation service. If you're looking for legitimate partners, for legitimate libraries to partner with, and you don't know how to do the research, or you'd like to have maybe an expert's, professional's opinion on how to best increase your chances of getting accepted by a library, but not just getting accepted, but getting the highest number, the biggest kind of placements you can possibly get, that's what I'm giving you in Sync Edge, okay? And part of Sync Edge, the benefit of it is that every single month, usually in the middle of the month, I will do a 1-hour live Q&A session with all members, and it's just for Sync Edge members, okay? This is the part that I've never done before. I've actually never released any of these videos, these live Q&A videos to anybody outside of Sync Edge. But today, I wanted to let you guys see what we do in these live Q&As. There's also a lot of very valuable information that got kind of all the great questions that were asked and the answers that I gave. I think there's a lot of very valuable stuff that just got injected into this particular Q&A session. And so I wanted to make sure that all of you guys at least could see the kind of stuff that we do in Sync Edge. So if you're looking to get those music library recommendations, if you're looking to get access to this kind of a monthly live Q&A to get your individual personal questions answered about submitting to libraries, partnering with them, terms, whatever it might be, this is the place that we definitely want you to we want you to join us, and I invite you to be a member if you'd like to, okay? The link to join is going to be syncedge.me, syncedge.me, okay? So you can obviously join anytime you'd like. We do limit to 50 new members per month, though, so just so you know, if you're towards the end of the month when you're thinking about joining, don't be surprised if you get a little pop-up that says, sorry, we've got 50 members. I do cut it off at 50 because I don't want a rush of producers coming into it every single month and crowding out the marketplace and just, you know, overloading the new libraries that I recommend every single month. So just try to make sure you join closer to the beginning of the month when there's basically a reset on those numbers, and you can basically snag one of those spots, okay? But without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this next hour of live Q&A from the Sync Edge group. Okay, we've got our first question here from Trey. Do some libraries only take albums and not offer custom gigs? Yes, Trey. So there might be some libraries that only are going to offer to take your full 10-track albums and shop them out to their clients. I'd say most libraries do have custom opportunities, meaning that at some point they're going to have an ad campaign or a promo for a TV show or a trailer or something like that where they will need custom music. Now, will they always come to you, particularly for those custom jobs? Not necessarily, because one thing is maybe you're not the right fit for that particular custom job, right? What if you're a hip hop guy, but they want orchestral music? Well, they're probably not going to just rope you into that. Also, if you're not consistently sending music to this library that you've partnered with, they might not see you as an inner circle member that's, you know, just always available, always ready to work with them and for them, okay? So really it comes down to how much have you been hustling for them for the last 6 months or 8 months. If you're one of their most hungry producers, always submitting new music, always in communication with them, then you'll increase your chances that they will reach out to you for those custom opportunities. But no, some libraries, they only specialize in putting out large collections of music and letting their clients come and take it a la carte, or maybe as a one-off, they pay per sync fee, or sometimes it's the blanket fee, which covers all of their uses. So libraries have different ways of operating for sure. Nigel, I love Matt's Chill Step corporate videos in Sync Academy and would like to focus on that question. Is it still relevant and licensable, as his reference tracks are 5 years old now? So maybe the vids were made a while ago. Well, actually, that video series was made, I think in 2000 and it was either end of 18 or beginning of 19. So those aren't like super, super old. But yes, Chill Step corporate music is still very licensable today. You ask me again in maybe 5 years, I'm sure that number will go down a little bit, the desirability of that sound, because obviously in 5 years, who knows what the new flavor of the month's going to be. But I definitely have still hear that kind of very sleek, elegant, futuristic corporate music in advertising right now. So I don't think that we are done with that, especially when you have now new technologies coming on board. You have car commercials that are releasing new technologies with new features with their newer models. So they're going to want probably a lot of music that has a kind of sleek, futuristic style to it. So there's many different ways you can go with that Chill Step version. But I still think right now, 2020, it's very, very licensable. It's still a highly usable style for sure. All right, Tim, is the 2-minute length a hard and fast rule for all genres? No, it's not necessary. He says, I'm finishing up a lo-fi hip hop album. Tracks average 330. Think I should make a licensing version of the record, or is this good? I've always said that usually 2 to 3 minutes is your average. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do 2 to 3 minutes. One of the things you should do is when you're researching a library, let's say you're here in SyncEdge and you're going through the recommendations. Well, in the video, I'll show you, here's their music, and you can actually see how long most of their songs are, or some of their songs are. Some of them you might see are 1:30. That library seems to be okay with accepting tracks that are less than 2 minutes. But I've always told you guys shoot for the 2 to 3 minute mark, because let's say you do go to a library and they have that recommendation or that requirement. And now I have worked with a few libraries that have given me a hard and fast, we need at least 2 minutes of music per track, max it out around 3. Sometimes it's a hard and fast 3. So 3:30, probably not the end of the world, probably not a terrible thing. But you also, with 3:30, you might be repeating a lot of stuff you don't need to be repeating. Again, if you have the same verse twice, you don't really need that. You just need one verse. And if you do the second verse, add something on top of it, develop it a bit more, add a shaker, percussion, another lead, switch it up a bit, right? So just make sure that you're not getting too loopy and repetitive just because that's how the track originally was. If we're creating production music, it has to be useful for our clients, meaning that we're giving them all these options and this kind of continuous development as the track goes through. Now, if you get to that 2 to 3 minute mark, you send it to a library and they go, you know what, we only need it to be 1.5 minutes. This is too long. Well, that's an easy fix, right? You just cut out a couple of maybe one chorus, one verse, and now you're back down to 1:30, and that was a couple of clicks for you. If you only start at 1:30 with your track and you go to a library and they're like, hey, we need at least 2 minutes, a little more heavy lifting. You're gonna have to duplicate a part, you have to create something new to make sure it doesn't sound loopy. You're not just copying and pasting, right? So that's why I've said the 2 to 3 minute timeline is probably a better recipe for success. So if you have to go shorter, it's a much easier fix. You're not going to go longer. I can guarantee you that. You're not going to send a 3:30 track and then go like, you know what, we need this to be 5 minutes long. Never going to happen. Okay, so 3:30 is probably the max you should ever be shooting for. All right, Trey had a good question. Back up here. Some libraries seem to have a way higher quality of a website, artwork, and appearance. Is it safe to assume those libraries get more better paying placements? No, because you got to realize that somebody's ability to put together a nice looking website is not necessarily connected to their ability to get really high quality placements. Yes, when you see a much slicker, modern, great looking website, it gives you more confidence, and hopefully they have done that, right? But I do know, and I've worked with libraries who have not great looking websites who have huge connections, super valuable connections. And that's actually all they're focusing their effort on, is getting those placements. They don't really want or care about having a nice, slick, professional looking website, because for the most part, they've got their composers that they want to work with. And if they need to find new ones, they either just go to their composers and ask for references, or they have their other ways of getting them. So you can't necessarily, measure a book by its cover. You can't judge a book by its cover. But obviously, the more professional the website looks, the better it feels for us as the visitors going through. Now, if it does look very amateurish and old and outdated, it does make me second guess if I'm going to recommend that library for you guys. And I do a much further in-depth research process for that before I recommend a library like that to you guys, because I want to make sure I'm not sending you guys to someplace that was relevant 10 years ago, of course. But, if I have some sort of success stories or I have some sort of insights as to some recent stuff that they've done, even if their website looks kind of amateurish or just outdated, I'll still recommend them, because it's not about the website. It's about the placements. It's about you guys actually getting those, having a profitable relationship, obviously. All right. All right, John, what's up, John? A library I've talked with offers a buyout on sync fees for $100 a track. They also offer the traditional 50-50 split. What's your opinion on this kind of option? Well, it's a pros and cons kind of a thing. If they're getting a lot of sync offers, you can ask them that. If they get a lot of taking that $100 buyout fee, because that's a lot more potential money. Now, let's say they get one sync fee opportunity per 6 months and it's $3,000. You actually might make a lot more taking that $100 per track in that 6 months, right? So maybe before you decide which one, ask the library directly. How many custom opportunities do you get? Can you give me sort of an idea range of what your sync fees usually offer? Am I going to be included on all of those, or only on the ones that are, you feel like are going to be a good fit for me? So maybe do a little bit more probing into your library and ask them how it works on their end before you can make that decision. So there's pros and cons to both. I know some people say, never take the buyout fee, always do 50-50 sync fees. You can see now that, sometimes it might make sense to take that 50-50, but in other cases, $100 a track could actually land up, if you're doing consistent, let's say you're doing an album a month, right? At least, let's say just 10 tracks a month. $1,000 a month, 12 grand over the year, if that's more than you would have made on, one $6,000 sync fee for 1 gig, or maybe if it was, I don't know, a $3,000 sync fee, if you're splitting it obviously 50-50. So you'd have to have basically at least 3 custom gigs to make up for that 10,000 or that 1,000 rather. Sorry, I'm totally confusing myself. Forget all that stuff I just said. Okay. The $1,000 that you would have gotten for the year, you would have had at least get one sync fee opportunity that was, I guess, total 2,000. Because when you split it 50-50, you would have got that 1,000. Okay. So if you feel confident that you're going to be getting enough offers and the sync fees are going to be large enough that you will make over $1,000 in a year, I got that wrong again because you're saying $100 per track. So it would be 1,000. So it would have been, I was right the first time, guys. Sorry, my brain. Not in today, completely not in. So yes, you would have had $12,000 for the year. So if your sync fees total would have totaled more than 12,000, then yeah, you should have kept those sync fees. But again, as you guys know from me, that I have had a few great big sync fee opportunities, but they are not the norm in my career. About once every 2 to 3 months, I get offered some pretty decent size ones. About once a month, I'll get a small one, which is in the $1,000 to $3,000 range. And once every year, or maybe once every 2 years, I'll even see something that's $10,000 to $20,000. So that's really not that common, at least in my career. So it just depends on who you're working with. It really has, you have to kind of A/B compare that. So I'm so sorry about all that number confusion there. My brain is just not in. I'm going to have a little bit more coffee. I think I definitely need a little bit. Yeah, so Martin's saying that one of his libraries asks for exactly a minute and 40 second alt version. So there you go. So every library is different, guys. So I give you my sort of general guidelines, but at the end of the day, you need to talk to your library and find out what they need. Trey, how frowned upon is it to have slight tempo changes in one song? Maybe a chorus that feels it needs to accelerate slightly. For metadata purposes, is it just listing the main tempo acceptable? I wouldn't mess with tempo changes in sync licensing and production music. You should just keep everything in the same tempo. If you have a chorus that needs to be a little bit quicker, then maybe you need to just speed up the entire track. The verses need to come along with it. So yeah, having multiple tempos, you could have problems with that, because what if somebody wants to edit your track? Let's say they love your chorus, which you've made a little faster, and they love the verse, but they want to basically change it in a different way. So they want to have half of this verse. They want to go into a little bit of the chorus and then come right back to the verse. Well, it's going to go slow, fast, slow, right? And it's going to feel kind of strange for them. And if the editing process sounds really funky to them, they're not going to use your track. So just keep it all consistent in 1 BPM. I think that's a pretty standard golden rule you can really hold on to there. Samuel, new tracks aren't appearing in the library that we submitted to, but they are constantly accepting for new music. Is it normal in some libraries? You have to ask them. Okay, so some libraries, it might take them a couple of months to get tracks uploaded. Others, it's a week or two. So before you keep setting music to them and you're not seeing it show up in their catalog, I would definitely ask them, before I put together this next album or this next group of tracks, where are the tracks that I gave you before? When are they going to be showing up? Obviously, you should be double checking as well. Are they showing up in your PRO account, BMI or ASCAP? Okay, so just make sure that you are looking for these things, making sure that things are showing up. Yes, it would be a foolish thing to, for an entire year, just continuously send them music and never see them once show up on their catalog or even once show up in your PRO, because what are they doing with your music if it's not showing up where it should be showing up? So yes, you should be asking them before you continuously pitch the music. All right, good news from Michael. Just got my first placement on Forensic Files 2. Started airing on the 3rd due to a library signed into SyncEdge. Awesome, Michael. Love to hear that, man. Good win for you. Congratulations. All right, Bobby. I teamed up with a fellow producer to make an exclusive album for a library you suggested in SyncEdge. Do I need to mention this when submitting to the library that 2 people worked on it? Yes. So you can let them know in your initial email, this was co-written by myself and this producer. You can put his name, or you don't have to. What will make the big thing you have to just keep in mind is when you submit your tracks to them. Let's say they accept your music, they love it, and they want to put you under contract. Both of you would need to sign their agreement. They need to have writer 1, writer 2. Obviously, for the metadata, you're going to make sure you probably do a 50-50 split. Make sure you get his, I think it's a guy you worked with, his or her. You need to get their IPI number if it's BMI or ASCAP or whatever PRO they're affiliated with, right? So you need to get that information all together. And when you partner with the library and they accept your tracks, then you'll pretty much be the point person if you're submitting. And just make sure you get that producer to sign off on the agreement, agree to the terms, and make sure everybody's clear on how you're going to do that moving forward. So yeah, you can let them know in the email, but the most important thing is when they get you under contract, you let them know, hey, there's 2 producers here. We have 2 writers and we're splitting things in this way. It can be 50-50 depending on how you guys do it. I usually just say go to 50-50. It's the most fair way to do it. Some people do 75-25 depending on how much everybody contributed, but I think 50-50 is the safe way to make sure that everybody feels fair. Everybody feels like they're getting their fair share of it, right? All right, Michael, I personally know someone that owns a legit library. Would it be adventurous, maybe advantageous is what you meant, to submit to a personal friend, or would you avoid that to eliminate any possible issues between friendships? Ooh, that's a tricky one, Michael. I did do a video, I think last year on my YouTube channel about being careful about blurring the line between friendship and business. And it can happen in this business. You do need to make sure that that will be, or just be aware that if you do submit to them, yeah, you might have a little bit of favoritism because he knows you and he's going to help work with you. But just know that might one day compromise a friendship. And if it compromises a friendship, it's going to compromise a working relationship as well. So before you do it, I would just make sure you have a very frank conversation with this person and just say, I want to work with you. I want to pitch you that. I definitely want to protect our friendship, though, first and foremost. If working with you, partnering with you is going to jeopardize our friendship in any way, I'd rather not do it. But if you feel that my music could be useful and licensable for your clients, I'd love to partner with you. But let's just make sure that we're very clear that this is now a professional arrangement that we have here. So it's a blurred line right there. I personally don't recommend it. I don't think that doing business, with your friends and family in that way is usually a smart idea. I know it can work out. It has worked out for some people, but just know that you are opening up the door to complications and potential problems in your just personal friendships with these people. So you have to make that a decision for yourself, Michael. But I think the first step would always be just having an open communication, a conversation with this person about your concerns, that you value their friendship and you want to make sure the friendship stays intact. All right, Guyman, when submitting music to a library that you're already contracted with, can you forego submitting full albums and submit half an album or even a couple of tracks at a time? It depends on the library, Guyman. Some of them are cool with that. Some of them will say, yeah, just send us 2 tracks at a time when you got them. Others will say, you know what, don't send us anything until you have the full album. So you should definitely talk to them. As soon as you get accepted, let's say they take your album, your first conversation should be, all right, cool, I'm going to get started on some new stuff. Do you want these as I get them done? Do you want me to wait till I have the full album ready to go? Maybe I can send you the MP3s of when I get 4 of them done, I'll send you the MP3s. If you have any notes, let me know. You guys get into sort of a rhythm and a flow. That's what you need to do. I can't tell you that. I'm not the library. I don't know how quickly they work. I don't know how busy they are. So definitely ask them what works for their schedule, and you'll be able to make sure you nail it for them, okay? Trey, do you have a method for finding a library's network? That's a good question, where they get their placements and how often, if they don't showcase that info on their website. Unfortunately, there's no public place to go really do that. I have found that because I have a large network of producers and writers and publishers and music libraries that follow me because of the stuff that I've been doing with my YouTube channel and my Facebook page and all that kind of stuff. I have a lot of access to a lot of research and sort of firsthand accounts from producers that probably most of you guys don't have access to. And that's one of the benefits that I'm bringing to Sync Edge. So a lot of the recommendations that I am bringing you, a lot of them come directly from people emailing me, letting me know about some successes that they're having with a current library or who they're working with and seeing some great things happen, or libraries themselves reaching out to me and say, hey, Jesse, this is who we are. We're working. These are the kind of placements that we've been doing. Here's what our work is. And if you're interested in featuring us on Sync Edge, feel free to do so. So I've actually gotten some libraries that have done that. Now, I haven't featured all of them just because they reached out to me. I do my due diligence. I look into them a little bit more. So you're getting that with Sync Edge. You're getting the best you could probably get, I think, out there. But unfortunately, because a lot of this is behind a privacy wall for most of these libraries, no, if they're not putting it out there on their website, for most of you guys, you're not going to be able to get access to that stuff. Because even if you can email them and say, hey, I want to work with you guys, but can you let me know who you've worked with? Maybe they'll get back to you and be nice enough to send you a list of things and show you some kind of proof of their placements, but don't count on it because they don't need to prove anything to you. If they're doing legit work and they're making money and getting placements and they don't need you, maybe they're not going to do that. They're not going to go out of their way to prove themselves to you. So unfortunately, there is a big kind of a blind spot in this business about that. And there is going to be risks. So, and I know you guys know that, but just know that you're working with any library, there's going to be a risk. Because even if you work with a library I recommend in Sync Edge, you got to make sure that your music is the most useful for them, that it's going to be licensable, that it's high quality. And then of course, on top of that, that whatever clients that they're currently serving needs your particular music. And there might be seasons of the year where they're not in demand. Like your music might not be in as hot demand right now as it might be in the summertime. It happens to my music all the time. That's why royalty checks fluctuate. Sometimes they're really, really big. Sometimes they kind of take a little bit of a dip. They just cool off a bit, because it's not like every single month the same amount of placements, the same amount of work is thrown around. Things change. Everything's in flux. So the important thing though is that you have the most, you stay focused on the things that you can control, which is the quality of your music, the licensability of your tracks, and making sure obviously you're partnering with the most legitimate library that you possibly can. Justin, in your experience or others' experience, when exclusive libraries give, let's say, $100 per track, do they usually allow you to give them as many as you can do? Obviously, there's going to be a quality issue there. Okay, you can't just throw them a bunch of garbage and like, all right, give me $100 for all that garbage, right? So there's going to be a quality minimum threshold that that they're going to want for. Now, I would imagine, I can't say this across the board for all libraries, but if they're paying out per track, as long as they feel that your track is licensable and useful and something that they can monetize, they'll have no problem paying you out a large number of these consideration fees for as many tracks as you can get to them, okay? But that shouldn't be an incentive for you to go for more quantity over quality, right? You don't want to go, oh, $100 a track. Let me just put together a bunch of crappy loopy tracks and here you go. Because your brand in their eyes drops down to the floor, right? You don't want to become the producer that's seen as the lazy one or the one that rushes stuff or is just greedily looking for the short-term paycheck. They're not going to want to keep giving you that $100 per track. So I think that you're not going to find any sort of limits on how many you can do as long as that quality stays consistent with what you originally, you obviously got accepted by them. They loved what you first sent to them. So keep your tracks on that level and higher. You probably should be increasing and improving and figuring out ways to actually improve your works or whatever. So yes, I don't think you're going to find any limits to that kind of stuff, but just don't let that be a temptation to drop your standards for yourself, right? Right. Samuel, when do we know when a library got upfront fee for my music of a placement? Should we trust on them? Many times you will not actually know. And this is one of those things where there is no system in place for, let's say there was a car commercial that came and took your track out of their catalog and they gave the library, let's say $20,000 in the library. You were supposed to be splitting that sync fee and then the library just didn't give it to you. Can it happen? Yeah, that can definitely happen because there is really no way for you to peer into their office or into their email inbox to find out what's happening with your music. So just like I said, just like everything, you work with human beings, you're going to have risks. There could be potential issues with this kind of stuff. Okay. So if that's going to be enough of a bummer for you or an uncertainty for you to bow out of this business, you should stop today. Today should be the last Sync Edge Q&A. You should no longer do this anymore. If that's enough for you to be bummed out to move forward in this business, that there might be some risk, there might be some people using your music without paying you, this is not the business for you. Because I'm going to tell you guys right now on camera, I think I've missed out on maybe tens of thousands, perhaps, I don't know if it's hundreds of thousands, but let's say $50,000, $60,000 probably in royalties, sync fees, other fees that maybe I should have earned that I never did. Now, how do I know that? I've been made aware of a few situations where things didn't get reported, and then the sort of lapse, the time period had gone by too far for me to go back and try to rectify it. And I'm just assuming that with my music around the world, not every single human being has been honest enough or let's say thorough enough to make sure that they're reporting the usage and writing it down and sending it to the appropriate people. Of course not, guys. Come on. Human beings make mistakes. Human beings cut corners. Human beings are greedy. So it definitely can happen, and it probably will happen to you, that your music will be used in certain places and you won't get a check for it. It sucks. It's not correct. I don't like it, right? It's not something that I love. However, even with that, obstacle that is in this industry and in every industry, okay, that's not unique to us. Everybody in business is going to have customers that steal from them, employees that steal from them, clients that rip them off, clients that don't do the work they say we're going to do. Okay, welcome to being a grown up and just, living with basically risk in a business. Even with all that nonsense, it's still my full-time income. I've still been seeing my royalties grow, and I'm still happier than ever that I was able to turn my passion into full-time income. Okay. Yes, there are problems, there are issues. In terms of the trust issue, you really basically need to, I think what it is you basically, when you first meet somebody, especially at a library, you immediately assume the best, right? There's no reason, if you're getting a recommended source, like here in Sync Edge, or maybe from a trusted, or the question we had before, I've been sending them all this music and it's not showing up on their website or the PROs. Now, you should obviously just go talk to them first, not assume anything. Go talk to them, ask them why it's not showing up. If they don't give you an answer, or they say, hey, stop bothering us, big red flag. There you go. There's a real big sign that you should not continuously submit music to that library. Now, it might not be that they're trying to screw you over, but they certainly aren't giving you the time of day. They're not valuing you, right? They're not showing you a lot of respect. That's not somebody that you want to trust, or that you want to put all of your, a big chunk of your career's hands into, right? You want to get with somebody that's courteous, responds to you in a timely manner within a day or two, maybe a week at the most, but they get back to you fairly quickly. They care about your concerns. They're going to address them. They'll email you back. They'll call you back. So getting a lot of that great communication, that's going to be one of your best signs that you are on good hands and that they really care about you, okay? So that's the best advice I could give to you. But get ready for risk. Get prepared for risk. There's no avoiding that stuff. And you will have your music placed on programs, in commercials, and maybe even movies that you will not get paid for. It's going to happen. And around the world, that is going to happen. Not a reason not to get started, though. It's not a reason to go forward for this, okay? All right, I probably got a little behind there. All right, Guyman has another one. When submitting additional tracks to a library you're contracted with, is it essential that the group of tracks be the same genre as if it were an album? Generally, yes. You're going to ask them, of course, what do you guys need? If they want more of what you gave them the first time, just keep doing it, right? Put together another album of the similar genre, maybe with a little bit of a twist on it. You can add maybe one new element to it, or go to a different sort of emotional kind of vibe with it. But yeah, generally when you're submitting music, you're not going to go, okay, here's my EDM one, here's my country, here's my orchestral. No, you should have got into that library being the one or two genre guy or girl, right? So usually they're going to see you as that person of that genre. So you probably should stick in that wheelhouse for quite a while. Cue sheets. Somebody was asking, how soon do you see the cue sheets showing up? Usually those are going to show up around the time that the show is going to air. So if the track got placed, but the show doesn't air for like a month or two, you probably won't see that until a month or two. So usually they don't turn in those cue sheets to the PROs until the show is airing. So in that range. So it could be a couple of weeks after that. Obviously, for it to be processed by BMI or ASCAP, that can take a couple of days or even weeks as well. So be patient with that stuff. But I would say if you don't see it within like a month or two after the show is aired, that might be a little bit of cause for concern. And if you ever do have that situation, reach out to your library, because your library has interest in that placement too. They probably are earning the publishing or a portion of the publishing, so they're missing out on money as well if the track is not getting sent to the PROs in the form of a cue sheet. Certain types of music throughout the year, maybe 2 or 3 months ahead of the holiday season. Do you think it would be a good idea to make a calendar for that? Yeah, absolutely. Like if you want to do, let's say like holiday music or something like that, you should be working on that probably starting soon here. And then you should be shopping that in July, August, maybe even June. So yeah, you basically want to be about 2 to 3 months ahead of the curve if you want to do that. I don't recommend, if you guys are brand new to licensing, that you start with like a Christmas album, because you're limiting your placements. You're literally only going to be getting placements potentially between November and December. So you basically have limited your licensability to what, 1/6 of the year. That's not a good way to start your career, to only potentially get placements 1/6 of the time. That would be something I would say after a couple of years in this business, if you want to dabble into that, that would be a really good idea. I think I need to make a complete YouTube video just on that subject, because a lot of people talk about making Christmas music and that'd be fun. And I think it's important, the timing in your career when you do that. In the beginning, I think it's a very unwise thing to do. I think you're going to be wasting a lot of time and just limiting your potential success by doing that. Yeah, Michael, I think that's the question you're asking. You're talking about scheduling the types of music based off of the month. It can be, obviously. And obviously, the more that you talk to your library, the more they're going to clue you in on this stuff. That's why that communication is so important. They're going to tell you, hey, like, well, mine, I can't tell you the name of the sports network, but there's a major sports network that needs a lot of music, and we have a direct in to get a lot of placements. And so this sports network is basically saying, hey, we're about to start airing, we're about to start our season, and we need a lot of stuff. So basically, in a couple of months, a lot of my music is going to be getting lots and lots of placements, and that's what I'm working on right now. So that comes from communication. The library is basically hinting at me, hey, maybe you want to work on this right now because in a couple months, these guys are going to need a lot of this kind of music, and let's make sure that we are the ones that can serve them. So communication with your library. I can't stress that enough, guys. Tim, do libraries sign tracks that have already been released on Spotify, YouTube, etc.? Sometimes. Exclusive libraries will sometimes be cool with that if they love your music, if they feel it's very licensable, and they see that there's going to be a real use for your tracks, okay? Some will say no. It's a 50-50 thing. So you have to basically just be transparent with them. If you have music that's already been released publicly, let them know where it's been released. If there's not a lot of downloads or streams, if you're kind of just starting out as an artist and you don't have a major following, they probably won't have an issue with it because there's not a large gathering of people that are already exposed to it, that can get it, that kind of thing. So, but you definitely need to always be transparent with them, let them know what you've done with the music already. They might say, you know what, we love the music and we're going to accept it, but you do have to take it off of those public platforms. We don't want our tracks that we shop to be available anywhere publicly. So you got to make that choice. What's more important to you, working with this library or keeping your tracks up on Spotify, YouTube, your social media accounts? You got to make that choice. Catching up here. Anthony, do you use offsite backups and cloud service to backup archive audio files and projects? Yes. So I do have some backup stuff that I use. I do have a very big Dropbox account where I store a lot of my services. I also have 4 external hard drives here, and I have basically duplicates of each project that I've worked on. So I have the original, and then I always back it up into another one. And then a lot of my projects, the important stuff that I'm working on, will always get backed up into the cloud as well. So I basically have 3 different places where my tracks are at any given time. I think it should be smart for me to have I should probably have an external drive in another location because they're obviously all here in my home. So if there's a fire or something like that, I might be in a little bit of trouble. But obviously the cloud is my backup for that. But you can never really be too safe. So if you do have access to another place where you can store something safely, it might be a good idea. I just, other than maybe giving it to my parents and having it stored at their house, I guess that's the other thing I can do. Maybe, give it to a loved one and just back it up on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis. I don't think you got to do this on a weekly thing, but maybe a quarterly basis, back everything up and give it to your parents, give it to a friend, and have them store it at their house. So at least you have one extra source of backup. Very, very smart though. I think it's important to do both: digital backup, cloud backup, and a physical hard drive. I think both of those are really important. All right. Michael, I found my placements in TuneSat without paying a lot with Tunes. How can I find out about plays outside of the US without paying a lot? So I believe with TuneSat, you're only going to be seeing US placements. That I'm aware of. If anybody knows of it, I'm not aware of any other monitoring software option out there that will show you international placements. I could be wrong on that. If you guys know about it, let me know. I will definitely go check it out and see how legit it is. But as far as I know, TuneSat's the best one that's going to show you just your US placements. Usually the international stuff, you're not going to know about any of that stuff until you get your royalty check, after that period lapses. Let's see, trades. You look up the usages reported on your BMI royalty statements. Any tips on how to find these? I got a 66 cents from usage in WWE, and I'm very curious how it was used to generate that. Yeah, I think you're talking about basically looking up the original TV show or commercial, right? Like looking that kind of stuff up. Some of them I will, but vast majority I don't because I get so many. I mean, I get thousands and thousands of placements. I don't have time to go okay, let's go find this episode. In the beginning I did because I had 5 placements. I'm looking up all of those and I tried to find, but this is the day before a lot of stuff was online. So you really couldn't find too much if you didn't catch it on TV. But these days, a lot of these TV shows, not necessarily commercials. If it's a TV commercial, some, people will put their commercial online as well. So you can kind of see it. But if it's a big show or something major, yeah, I like to look those up. I did that video a couple months back where I showed you how the same track got played in Let's Be Cops and another CBS comedy TV show. I don't remember what the name of it was. Marlon Wayans was in both shows, though. He was in the movie and he was in the TV show, so go figure. But my dance track was featured in both of them. So that was kind of a fun thing just to show you guys how my track got used in both of those placements right there. So yeah, you can definitely try to look it up if you do your best research. Some of these TV shows, stations, will actually put that stuff online. But if they don't and you missed it, there's really not much you can do about it. But just be thankful. 66 cents is better than nothing. You got something from it, right? Are you thinking to do a kind of Sync 60 challenge for all members on Sync Edge? Maybe win a month of Sync Academy. No, I think I'm going to keep Sync Academy, the Sync 60 challenge within Sync Academy. I think that's the platform for it. It makes sense to have because that's got the actual social. It's kind of like it's our own private social media network, so you can talk to each other. You can look at the tutorials. You can click on the spreadsheet and all that kind of stuff. So no, if you want to, we will do another one. I think we'll do it probably before the summertime. And I actually will probably do, I think that keyboard thing really worked well. A lot of you guys, I got a lot more interaction, a lot more commitment to this challenge, actually. I think just by having that keyboard as a prize for you guys. So I'm thinking about doing that again and maybe even upping the prize this time and doing something a little bit bigger. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to keep that in Sync Academy. I think that's the proper place for it. Because that's really where we have our, other than these live Q&A chats, obviously with you guys here, Sync Academy is really where the more of the community kind of aspect is contained. Sync Edge is really more, you're coming in, you're getting your library recommendations, you're submitting to them directly, you're partnering with them, right? It's a little bit more of an individual kind of a service other than these live Q&As, which are really fun to do. But yeah, if you're looking for more of the community aspect of this kind of thing, I would definitely look into joining Sync Academy. If you're only a Sync Edge member and you want to just add Sync Academy to your subscription, just email me after this Q&A if you'd like to, or anytime, jesse@syncmymusic.com, and I can change your subscription. It's very, very, very cheap, extremely cheap, depending on where your rate is. Some of you got signed up with Sync Edge when we first launched. Some of you got started with the later rate, but whatever rate you're going at, it's a very, very affordable upgrade if you want to get access to Sync Academy as well. So just always email me if you ever want to do that. All right, Michael, Jesse, based on your outline, I set my goal of 100 placements each quarter. You averaged about $37 a placement. Would Oh, okay, Michael's saying that TuneSet does do internationals, but they charge a lot for it. And Michael, can you rephrase your question? I'm a little confused. I think there might be some grammar issues there. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking. Set my goal of 100 placements each quarter. You averaged about $37 a placement. Would my recent placement? Oh, okay, that A is the thing that's throwing me off. Would my recent placement of a forensic file fit that profile? Well, I don't know what you're going to get paid for that placement. Are you asking if you're going to get an average of $37 for that placement? I don't know how it was used, how long it was, what time that was airing. I'm not sure of the network. So there's a lot of factors there. So I can't tell you exactly where that placement. It could be hundreds of dollars, thousands maybe. It could be $5, $10. I don't know exactly the all those specifics of your placement. So I'm not exactly sure if I can give you a specific answer. I think I understand what your question is now, though. All right, Skywolf, I'm doing a rock hip hop album. What other licensing emotions can I get of that hybrid genre besides sports? So my whole album won't sound the same. What other licensing emotions? Oh, okay, gotcha. So you're going for a rock hip hop. Well, you can obviously go into tension, right? Reality shows could use that. So there's going to be a ton of contest shows, reality shows, where they're going to be some an elimination scene or tension or even party, having fun, right? So a celebratory kind of thing, hip hop rock, we're having a good time, having a house party, we're at a club, whatever it is. So you can obviously go to celebration. It can be tension, it can be dark, there can be some conflict going on. There's a lot of different places actually you can go with that. So I would say other than sports, there's also a lot of commercials, advertising spots, right? So like think of a car commercial, or you could have, you name it. There's so many different kind of products that could probably do that, but probably more high energy, maybe for a younger demographic or maybe middle-aged demographic. It's probably where you want to go with that. But I would say between celebratory, sports, tension, aggression, that kind of thing, those are probably the three areas that you should probably be looking for. And that celebratory thing is also party, having a good time, a little bit of recklessness. You can definitely see that. And that would also be very useful for commercials and ads as well. How many tracks or albums do you submit per month? I don't know if you're asking about me or in general people should. For me, I'm up to multiple albums just because I get asked to do so much music by my library partners that I'm doing. I'd say on any given month, at least two. Sometimes it's more than that, but that doesn't mean that like every track is a full, complete, 30 track song, sometimes I do minimal music, which is only like 6 elements, right? Drums, a bass drone, a synth, and maybe a guitar or piano lead, and some transitional effects, risers, impacts. So it could be very minimal, but like maybe I'm asked to do 6 of those for a particular TV show. So that's half of an album right there. So I don't think of it so much in albums these days, because now I'm getting to the point where the libraries that I've partnered with are asking me for direct music, for direct, like this new sports network that I can't mention what it is, but they're asking for direct music for this particular opportunity. Okay, so I'm just basically cranking them out as fast as I possibly can, keeping my quality high, not shortchanging myself, not lowering my standards, because I don't want the library or this client to start seeing my music as the cheap option, as the less quality sounding option. Okay, so it's tempting, especially when you have a door wide open for some of these opportunities, but don't do it. Don't just start throwing stuff out there just because you think, oh, I'll get more placements, and then you start throwing garbage, and you will actually get less placements by doing that. So, all right, guys, we'll keep the questions coming. We have about 10 minutes or so before I'll wrap this one up. If you have any last minute questions, please do post them in the chat. Be happy to help you guys out with anything that's going on. All right, we got a couple from Trey here. I wrote orchestral scores for a death metal band's album years ago. I'm thinking about adding elements to fill out the arrangements on their own and pitching as an album. Yeah, so what I wouldn't do is double dip. So I don't know what your agreement was with that band. If they've released that music and those orchestral pieces are on their track being available to the public, I probably wouldn't just keep them and then rewrite something underneath them and release it over here, because you're skirting on not following along with an exclusive licensing agreement. Okay, you can let them know if you want to take that chance, but definitely let a library know these parts of these scores that you're hearing are available on this band's album, and here are their links. I want to let you guys know that that's out there. You obviously need to talk to that band though. What if that band doesn't think that's cool for you to do, right? They want that music to be exclusively on theirs. I don't know if they paid you a sort of a buyout fee or a work for hire fee. I don't know what your arrangement with them, but definitely talk to the band first. Ask them how they feel about it, and then of course you need to make sure that you talk to the library. I think you should avoid all that personally. That's my opinion. That's my advice. Just write something fresh. You'll write something better now, right? I don't know how long ago. You said years ago, so you're probably much better now, right? It's going to be stronger. You're going to have some better music, better skills, producing, mixing, and mastering skills. So start fresh, right? You are a music producer. Might as well just start producing new music. You'll avoid all of those headaches and potential pitfalls, because it's possible the library just says, nah, no thanks. We don't want this. It's out there. And the band might also say, nah, no thanks. This is our music. We don't want it to be distributed, even if it's in a new form anywhere else, right? Yeah, Martin says maintaining the quality is why I'm not sweating the placements too much, as I want to keep the bar high as far as quality, and it takes time. Yep, absolutely. You guys are all in different places, where you are in your skills. So keeping that quality high is going to be the best thing for you guys to focus on right now. Tim, good question. Any strategies for keeping your music from getting too creative, particularly 9 to 10 tracks into the record? Well, obviously, as we talked about before, you keep the same BPM, you keep the same key, you don't only doing a bunch of key changes. Basically, follow a reference track. I would say if you want to go too far off into left field, where you're experimenting with a brand new sound and different things, and you're combining weird genres and emotions, get a reference track. Get 10 reference tracks. You're like, I like these 10 tracks. I'm going to create 10 tracks, follow in the footsteps of these 10 songs. Go get them and then use those. That way you've got a path in front of you. You've got a blueprint. You're not going to get lost in the woods there, right? You're not going to be making all these creative choices and landing off in left field. You're going to be following along the entire time to this reference track that's licensable, that might even be distributed by the library you're going to be submitting to or you're currently partnered with. So I would definitely use reference tracks to make sure you steer clear of getting too, I know exactly what you're talking about, getting too creative with your stuff. By what number of library submissions should you revise your music? I've sent my first album to 2 different libraries, no reply at all. I would basically, I don't know how long you've been waiting, but I would definitely probably send your music to 3 to 5. If you get nothing by 3 to 5 and nobody replies at all, that might be an indication that you should revisit your thing. I think 2, it's not enough. You really just don't know if you're not catching them. Maybe your email is landing in their spam folder. And obviously, hopefully you're sending those follow-up emails with those 2 about a week or 2 afterward. 4 ignores and 1 says no. That's the time to revisit and maybe evaluate yourself and think, am I really ready to submit this music? Maybe I'm not at that point that I want to be. Trey, you've mentioned not sending the same email to multiple libraries. While I understand why, it'd obviously be ideal to weigh the pros and cons of each offer. Yeah, so by doing that is you're risking, let's say you do send the same email, the same music to 5 exclusive libraries. Let's say that 3 of them say yes to you. Who do you say no? Who are you going to bait and switch? That's the question, right? So you like one of them and you partner with them, and then the other 2 you go, sorry guys, I was just teasing. I don't really have any music for you. I actually sent that album to somebody else. How are they going to feel about you? You just scammed them, basically. I mean, you wasted their time. You bait and switched them. So if you want to make enemies and get on a blacklist very quickly, go ahead, go for it. Try to, you can A/B compare their offers and their terms to you and decide who you want to partner with. But just know you've just lost 2 potentially very powerful partners in the future. And there aren't thousands of libraries for you guys to partner with. There's a couple of hundred that really can do this well for you. You don't have the room or the luxury to make any enemies or to be on any blacklists in this business. So this is why I said being patient. Yes, it'll take longer, and yes, you're going to have to go one at a time. But it is the way to make sure you have a long-term career. We're not about short-term results. We're not about bait and switching people or spamming multiple people. That's why it's been my personal approach that you can ignore all that advice and just spam a bunch of them and see what happens. Just know that you've been warned, right? If that happens and you've missed out, you might partner with a great library, but a couple other ones are really not happy with you. Just know that I told you, okay? You've heard that at least here. You've been warned of that. And usually, yeah, you're not going to find out their terms until you partner with them. They don't advertise, here's what we pay. Some of them will. A few of them in SyncEdge actually have, and I pointed those out. But most of them are not going to put up their terms, with their consideration fees, what they're splitting, publishing shares, any of that kind of stuff until you're actually in partnership with them. So unfortunately, yeah, you'll have to kind of evaluate that once you get the offer. And everything's negotiable, though. You can ask for things. Hey, I want to do this. I want to do that. Are you guys, I want a reversion clause where you can take those tracks back out of their catalog if they don't get any placements within 3 years. You can ask for these kind of things, and some of them will play ball with you and say, sure, absolutely. Others won't. They'll say, nope, take it or leave it. These are the terms, and then you can decide, all right, I'm just not comfortable with these terms. You don't have to partner with anybody you're not comfortable with. You have power. Yes, yeah, somebody's asking Martin about the Ovation. Yes, that's an Ovation in the back. It's an acoustic electric. All right, guys, last couple of minutes. Post any questions you have, and then I'll be jumping off here and getting back to my work. I actually have not only the sports stuff I'm going to be working on, but I also have a custom opportunity, and I have to put together probably 2 more tracks for it. So that'll be fun. But it was kind of cool because this one, not all the gigs you get, they'll give you the actual video asset, but this one they did. They gave me the actual, it's a 30-second and a 15-second commercial, and they gave me the sketch version. So it hasn't been shot yet, just a sketch version, the artist version of the mock-up essentially of the commercial. With all the music removed, they had a temp track in there, but they removed that, and so now I'm actually scoring to this custom thing. So it's pretty cool. I can't share any of it, but it's just pretty fun to do that. It definitely, it's a different thing than just having, like, most of the time what we do is we get a reference track and we just compose without any visual elements to think about. But this definitely makes you think a little differently about, okay, I want this swoosh to happen right here because this is when a door opens, right? There's stuff like that. It's kind of a cool thing to do. Awesome. Trey, another great question. For submissions to libraries, do you have to provide artwork for them to use? No, you don't have to. They're going to do that. That's part of their job. If you want to have some concept artwork, I mean, it's definitely like a little bonus to let them know that you're thinking about this in terms of a marketable album you're putting together, but not necessary at all. You really don't have to do that. They take care of that, how they're going to market it, how they're going to put that album artwork together. JI, how did the new opportunities find you? A website, word of mouth, or other? It's actually through my library. So I've partnered with, I basically have 2 main libraries that I'm working with now, and one of them we're talking every week, basically. Here's what we're working on. Here's what we need. And then, recently, things have just kind of had an uptick since November of last year. It's just been nothing but just constantly asking for new music, for new projects. They were a little bit quieter, a little bit calmer, earlier last year, but now this year things have picked up. And so it's just through a library. Just what I'm telling you guys to do. I've just connected with a library that I've trusted. They know I'm hardworking. They know I'm the inner circle person. They know that I'm here to offer and deliver on time and give them options, all the things that I teach you guys. And I'm getting these direct opportunities through the libraries. That's it. Okay. And I didn't get this stuff by luck, by chance, by whoops. I just ran into the right room, ran into the right person at the grocery store. No, this comes from years of consistency, showing up, always putting my best foot forward, watching out for my quality, partnering with good libraries, developing that trust with them. Trey, good question. This will be the last one that I end with, guys, and I'm going to pop off here. When pitching an album to a library, is it rude to tell them that you say something like, I noticed that your music in this genre is a little dated? That's one way to say it. It is a little bit rude because you're kind of insulting their catalog. So maybe the smarter way to say is, I've actually created very modern and relevant music in the style of blah, 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 blah. I think this would be a valuable asset to your catalog, right? Kind of said the same thing without insulting them, without telling them that they have something that's like lacking in their catalog, right? So rather than telling them you got a problem, maybe it's better to just let them know that here's what the product is. Here's the solution. It's modern, it's up to date, it feels relevant to today's current Billboard charting artists. I feel that this will be very relevant for your clients and for your catalog to improve. You could say even to improve your catalog, right? That's not pointing out any particular thing that sucks about their catalog or saying, yeah, you guys aren't doing this very well. But it's a way of saying this is what's strong about what I'm bringing to the table. So, I think you're very smart to think about that. It's all about, and it's not what you say, it's really how you say it. And so we're both saying the same thing, but the way that I'm saying it is really putting your product in a much better, stronger light and telling them what problem it will fix and how it's going to be a valuable asset for them. Okay. All right. So, Michael agrees. He's been a salesman for 40 years. He would find a different approach. Usually pointing out people's flaws and what's not working about them or their businesses, usually not the way to go. It's better to focus on positives, how you're going to improve things, what you can bring, et cetera, et cetera. So just kind of common sense stuff, but it's a really great question. I'm glad that you're thinking about that. It shows a lot of smarts and a lot of awareness of how people might perceive that. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this Q&A session. Stay tuned. Obviously, on the 1st, we're going to have 2 new libraries for you. I am currently evaluating which ones I'm going to include. I have a list of 4. We're going to whittle it down to 2 for this month. But very powerful information coming your way. And of course, just like we do every single month, in the middle of the month, we will do these live Q&As. So in the meantime, stay safe, stay calm, and be a leader for your community, for your social circle, for your family, for your friends. Okay. Remember, remind them it's going to be all right. We're going to get through this. Don't panic. Don't overreact. Use common sense. Be smart, be prepared, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to get through this. Everything's going to bounce back and everything's going to be fine. Okay. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend and we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you for listening to the Sync My Music podcast. If you enjoyed the show and want me to do more episodes, all that I ask is that you leave me a review on whatever platform or app that you're listening to. It just takes a few seconds. I'll never charge for this podcast, and I want to keep it 100% ad-free. And your review right now will help me do just that. Thank you so much.